Hello, mindful friends. We're in the second talk on our topic of owning our own happiness and generating our own happiness, which is the topic of the next class series that I am teaching starting on June 25th. And this will be a very fun and insightful class, so I hope you guys can join. And last week we talked about understanding the concept of how we can own our own happiness, what that looks like, and why happiness is not simply something that happens to us or that arrives in our lives with the conditions brought to us by the external world, but how it is in fact something that we learn and a skill that we develop to use our attention and our awareness to bring happiness into our lives, to recognize and engage with the conditions of happiness already present in our lives. And today we're going to dive a little bit deeper into one of the first steps in that process, which is beginning to observe. Now, this is not the first step in developing your mindfulness practice. So this is why I always recommend people starting with an introduction, getting the basics, because the observe phase comes after we kind of develop the settle, the calming, the placing of the attention and awareness practices. And those are something developed more in the intro series. And why those are so important is that if we cannot settle in our system, we can't bring our mind back to the present, and we don't have the skill to place our attention where we would like it to go, it becomes kind of inaccurate and not very easy to observe the things we're wanting to observe in our lives. Because we're so distracted with what we're telling ourselves or where our mind is wandering off to. And then the observe phase can't get as deep and intentional as it needs to be. So we kind of use our ability to settle. We use our calming techniques, our centering on the breath techniques, and that brings us back to the present moment and opens our minds and hearts into a curious, non-judgmental observation of what's really going on for us. And as we're observing in the context of our happiness, we want to really start recognizing not only when we have a difficult time being happy, but also really observing and noticing when we do feel feelings of happiness so that we can fully engage with them and maybe recognize what helped us to feel those, what thoughts or patterns or activities or engagements helped us to experience those feelings of happiness. So we're tuning into this and deciding, I want to build an awareness around this. I don't want to just wait for happenstance feelings of happiness to arrive in my life. I want to start understanding when they do, why they do, how I can engage with them, and when they don't, and what is it that makes them difficult to arise in my life. So we're observing, and maybe we start with noticing more often our state of being, which this is taught in the class, the 6-week series on emotions, mindful of our emotions. And when we build this skill, we start recognizing through the day what we're feeling at any given moment. We can always tune into that. And whether you believe it or not, emotions are always there, even in the times where you tell yourself, this is not a good time to be emotional, or emotions don't belong here. They are there. And so being aware of them can only serve you better, can only help you to understand why they're there, why they manifested, and what to do with them. So we use this practice to observe our emotional states. We notice when we are happy, and we notice when we are unhappy. We start paying attention. All right, I just noticed that I had a negative feeling. A feeling of fear was brought up in me, or dissatisfaction, or disappointment. And we observe, we open, and we watch. What did I think in that moment? What perspective was I having of self, others, and the world? What was I choosing to engage in? And how was I approaching that thing? What environment was I in, or what was I reading or consuming, or who was I around? These observations, we're not judging, we're not saying good or bad, we're just noticing, oh, that situation, that thought pattern brought up unhappy feelings, feelings that didn't serve me so well. Then we're observing the moments where we do feel happy. What did that feel like in the body? How did the body feel in that moment of happiness? What thoughts were brought up for you in that moment of happiness? How were you interacting with the world? Who were you around? What were you doing or reading or consuming? And you engage fully and you say, what does it feel like in my body to feel this happiness? What does it feel like? How can I engage with it more? And we begin to develop such a clear realization of the link of where I am putting myself, who I am engaging with, and the thoughts that I'm having about these people and how I am engaging, or this situation, then develops into my mood. Or when I am engaging in this situation, or I'm around these people, or doing these things, or having these thoughts, this is the emotional state that it puts me in. This is the happiness that it puts me in. And the longer that we observe, right, just we are curious little scientists observing our lives, the more we start developing a motivation. Oh, I notice that this doesn't do much for me. It creates a lot of negativity in my life. Maybe I can start to move gently away from that. Or I'm starting to observe and fully understand that this thing does generate positivity in my life. Maybe I can move more towards that. So your observation, which like I said, we worked on in the emotions class and the feelings class, your observing of how you're feeling throughout the day is your little guide, your thermometer as to where you're at, what states of being you're being triggered within you, are coming up within you, are not being fed enough within you. And it helps you to learn then. You can start seeing the direct correlation. And you can start to incorporate in your life more of the environments, the things you're reading, watching, the conversations you're having, the people that you're around that nurture the good feelings, that help you to sustain your happiness and generate it. So this week I invite you, put on your little thinker's cap, your observer's cap, and turn into the curious observer of your life. At this point, not trying to fix it, not trying to change anything. You really just want to understand, What's going on here? What's creating my moods? When do my moods alter? When do they come up or fade away? What's going on in my life that correlates? And maybe even journal on it, jot it down and recognize, so that you start to be or develop a deep understanding of your own situation and how your happiness functions, because it will be different for all of us. If you enjoy these talks and would like to join us for individual coaching, if you have more personal things to work on, or please join us for the group class on this topic of mindfully creating joy and happiness in your life. And you can find that at newleafmindfulness.com, and it starts June 25th. I also have exciting news that my new book is going to be published any day now. It's a book of passion and love and an offering to the world on a topic that I hear often, ask for support often, which is how can we still live fully with peace, purpose, and happiness, even if our bodies are ailing, we have pain, we have illness, we are aging and suffering. How can I make peace with the experience in my body and still show up for life? That book is called Healing Mindfully. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I hope to see you all very soon.